Hi, it's Greg. Fuck you, Mr. G on Twitter. It's been 4 days now since Thursday, the 21st of April, when Prince passed away. And it's still very difficult to say Prince passed away. It still doesn't seem right to say it. My body wants to fight me saying it, And when I'm looking at things and I'm reading things and headlines, Prince is dead and all these tributes coming in, it's still very difficult for me to fathom, as I imagine it is for a lot of you. It's still difficult for me to talk about. I haven't really spoken in depth much about it. I've spoken to a few people, and when it's come up in conversation, because the thing is, obviously, a lot of people close to me know my connection with Prince, and not connection, but my relation with Prince, in the sense that of what I do, and they know that it would have hit me hard, really. So that people have been offering their support to me in a way that it was like I'd lost a family member or a friend. On Thursday, people were ringing me up. I had calls from my mum, my dad, my brother, my sister. I was getting texts from my friends saying, oh my God, I hope you're okay. And that was nice. Only in the sense that it's nice that when people thought of Prince, they thought of me. And that's really quite touching to think. But it's like many of you, it's still very raw. It's still very, hard to comprehend. There's still so many questions. There's still a lot of things going around in your head as to why, what. It was just completely, and I think that's because it was so completely unexpected. There was no, apart from the news a couple of weeks prior, there was no real expectance of it. And the fact that he was out on the Saturday at the party at Paisley Park and he was like, I'm fine, it was like, phew, okay, Prince is good, it's all right. The world returns, resumes to normal. And then obviously, it was just total devastation Thursday. When I heard the news, I was just in complete and utter shock. I mean, when I first heard, when TMZ first said there was and I read that there was a problem at Paisley Park and medical officials had been called, I was still very, the first thing I thought was, oh my God, don't let it be Prince. But then that was quickly challenged with, don't be silly, Prince is immortal, he's going to be absolutely fine. There's something else has happened, it's fine, it's just been blown out of proportion. And then obviously it sort of really hit home when his publicist came to light and made the official announcement. And then from then on, like many of you I imagine, it was just complete and utter shock. I mean, I could barely talk. It was sort of, I don't know, it was a weird, strange sensation. I've never lost, I've been lucky enough not to lose anyone close to me, in friends, family, but it felt like how I only imagine it would feel like to lose a close friend or a family member even. And maybe it's silly of me to say that, because the loss you feel with a family member or friend must be immense, but that's the only thing I have it to compare to. Prince really is the only person that I was quite emotionally connected to. Not physically, I never met him, or only saw him from a concert distance, but you felt connected to him, and I feel very connected to him. And so it was only that that's all I have it to relate to. So for me, it was like losing someone that was extremely close to me. So it was a strange sensation that I couldn't explain. And when people were asking me and talking to me, people were asking and talking to me, I was like, I don't know. I can't really I can't really explain it. This feeling that I've got, it's a strange feeling. And you know, like going back to I said about the, you know, not having a physical connection with him, but I think it was more, you know, and how corny and how dramatic it may sound, it was more of a spiritual connection. I'm not a spiritual man by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a religious guy, but musically, there was the connection. He made music that connected on a level that I think even musicians, you know, you see all these tributes coming out from musicians about Prince, because he connected on a level with his music that was you know, never, unheard of. It was something out of the ordinary, you know. And when you went to a Prince concert, that's how you left. You left feeling like you just witnessed a legend, and you should be thankful. You should be thankful for what you've just seen. You should be appreciative of the fact that you were there to see him, and that's how you left. The feeling you would walk out. I mean, most of the time at a Prince concert, I wouldn't dance. Not because I didn't. It didn't get me to want to dance. It's just like I didn't want to take my eyes off him. I didn't want to be dancing around, looking at the floor, and looking at my friends when I could have been watching Prince. You know, and that's how I spent most of my time at the concerts, just standing there in awe of this guy, his musicianship, you know, and the way he controlled the stage and controlled the audience and interacted with the audience, and it was just phenomenal. It was just unprecedented, and it will never be matched. It will never ever be matched, and everyone you speak to will pretty much say the same thing. Everyone who's seen Prince will say the same thing. That it will never be matched. His performance, and the way he delivered with such passion, and the way the music flowed through him. It was on a spiritual level. It was like it was coming. I don't know. It was like transcending from somewhere else and being and his guitar or his piano or whatever he was playing was the only way he could communicate. Really communicate, you know. You forget words, and the music seemed to speak when Prince was playing it, and that's the connection I think a lot of fans feel, is that it was so, and there was so many of them moments at his concerts where the spine would tingle and you'd get a churn in your stomach, and I remember many times seeing Prince and watching him play songs and being nearly close to tears, again, no matter how corny it sounds. But there were so many times where I will be at a concert, and sometimes, you know, with other people that come along with me, and you know, even them. So, I mean, a lot of the people I went to concerts with Prince were not necessarily fans of Prince. They liked some of his music. I mean, not in the sense that I was, but, you know, and they would come along with me, and they would leave, you know, feeling like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. You know, and there'd be moments where we'd look at each other and I'd sort of be like, see, I told you. And they were like, oh. You know, there was moments like that, and you'd want to take people, come and see Prince with me, come on, oh no, you'll love it, you can't not love it, he's amazing. You know, and there was that, and with that in mind, you know, it's hard to express to people that weren't fans of Prince, just what people are feeling now, you know, because it's sad to think that it's not until now that people really are going to start listening to his music properly, you know, because to some extent Prince was forgotten about. You know, you speak to some people and they're like, oh, Prince he hasn't made music in years. Yeah, made music in years. And you think, no, you know, and it's sad now to think that actually people will be looking and reading and listening to Prince and thinking, oh my God, he was doing this, he was doing that. And it's taken for his death for people to actually acknowledge that. You know, when obviously, you know, people like myself and loads of thousands of other people who are fans know that's not the case. You know, and I think as well as the emotion in his live performances, I think it's memories that he is part of in my life personally. I can only speak about my personal experiences, but you know, in thinking back in my life, around various memories, because when you think back, it's all chopped up. Memories are sort of all bundled together, but they all seem to be accompanied by a Prince song at that time that I was either had just come out, or I was either stumbled across or found, or you know, and those memories are. So Prince has always been a constant in my life. You know, so when I think back, I was listening to that song at that time, and that happened, and you know, and that's the case for so many people, that he'd been a constant in their life, throughout their life, and you'd shared your memories with, not him personally, but with his music. So that was the another connection that people have with him, is that he was part of their life for so long, and he was part of their life, part of their memories, that, you know, that it's very hard to accept. You know, and that's another way that you connect. There's just, you know, he was a guy that will never be matched, in my eyes. You know, there will be no one else out there that can do quite what Prince did in all aspects of his life. And it's going to take a long time for me personally to accept that he's not around anymore. But we need to focus on, and I need to focus on, the positives and the memories that I have, that I've just briefly spoken about, of Prince and his music, and the experience of seeing him and being lucky enough to see him so many times. We need to concentrate on that, and we need to concentrate on what he's given us, not what's been taken from us. And I think it's difficult because you're reading a lot of things now, and a lot of crap is being written, stupid things, just for publications to gain readers and hits and whatever. And it's sad, but we need to ignore that, and we need to focus on what we personally had gained from being a Prince fan. And I've, as well as the music, I've gained so much. I've made some great friends through Prince. You know, I did the parties because of Prince, because of the love for Prince and his music. He did that, you know, and you know, he's brought me to meet people, like-minded people, that I probably wouldn't have ever met in my life, that because of his music and his inspiration, that has brought them people together. You know, and there's not a lot of people out there that can do that across the globe, across the world. You know, not just in London, but across the world. And his inspiration will live on. You know, it'll only spur people to maybe want to pick up an instrument now, and or maybe want to throw a Prince party or in celebration, or you know, these things inspire, as well as inspiring musicians. He inspires the normal person like myself, like you, like whoever. He inspires you in so many ways you don't even realise. Sometimes I'm talking to people, and I'll say a Prince lyric that fits the situation. They don't know it's a Prince lyric, but I feel quite pleased with myself that I've squeezed a Prince lyric into a conversation, something quite profound. But you know, even little things like that, you think that he inspires every little part of people's lives, fans, and that's going to be hard. And that will continue. He will continue to inspire, but it's going to be hard to know that you're never going to get anything new, and you're not going to be sitting on Twitter, and I'm not going to be searching out where he is, what he's doing, what's next. You know, there's not going to be any more live shows. It's very hard to accept, and like I said, it's going to take a long time to move on from it, and for the world to move on from it. You know, some celebrity was posting a tribute to him, and I think summed it up brilliantly, is that music lost its heartbeat, and I think that pretty much sums up what he was to music. He was the heartbeat of music. He was music, and it seems a bit silly to say, but it seems a bit pointless now. You may as well just do away with all music. You know, we'll just keep Prince's back catalogue, don't worry about the rest. Because that's what it was. It was like, well, what's the point now? Prince is not around. How are people going to make music anymore? How are people going to continue? You know, but that comes as part of the initial loss, I think, and then you start to gradually learn to accept it, and it's going to take a long time, like I say, but we will all get there, and we just need to make sure we don't, his legacy lives on. And you know, after everything sort of whittles away and everything calms down, that Prince is still a constant in your life. Prince is still an inspiration. we need to make sure that people are still playing Prince, people are still acknowledging Prince, because he'll never be forgotten. Not to me. Not to me. But I just I wanted to make a video because I haven't really said, it's hard to say it on Twitter and Facebook and in little posts, but yeah, so everyone needs to sort of stay strong and be together and remember. Thanks.